Chapter 28. Grandfather has told me my time is coming. I must watch closely, then do what I can to help my twin in his battle to slay the monster. Yet I am only a spirit, unable to touch anything on the earthly plane of existence. What can I possibly do to help my brother? Grandfather has told me I will know. He is a powerful medicine man. I must believe him. The morning was starting to turn hot over the lava beds. Nakai finished forming his shirt into a bandage and a sling for his useless right arm. Once he got the arm braced, the pain subsided to a point where he could live with it for the moment. His biggest fear was that he would hit the arm and pass out. Even willpower couldn't prevent that. With luck, he'd have to live with the pain for the rest of the day. Without some luck, he'd be alive only another 20 minutes or so anyway. Once he finished with the sling, he stood and checked what supplies he had left. He had a knife, binoculars, and his army-issue pistol, still in its holster, on his hip. He'd lost the extra ammunition on the belt with the rifle, but there were at least 7 shots left in the magazine of the pistol. He also had his survival supplies, which included the most important element for his plan: matches. Using the binoculars, he checked on the creature. The thing was still flat on its back in the forest. A dozen vultures worked on the human flesh that surrounded the monster, eating and fighting over the bits, all without seeming to wake it. "That fall must have really hurt, huh, big fella?" Nakai said. He put the glasses away, then went quickly to work, scavenging brush and a few sticks from the edge of the trees. He took the brush back up the hill, placing it carefully around and over the opening in the lava dome. It took him 3 trips down the side of the hill and back before he finally had the hole covered in such a way that it looked like a natural brush growth in the lava. He had fashioned the oldest trap in the world, a pit. Now he had the oldest problem in the world: how to get his game to fall into his pit. With another quick check to make sure the creature was still where he wanted it to be, Nakai walked quickly towards the right, around the forested valley. He stayed up near the dome crests so he could keep an eye on the monster as much as possible. About 100 paces from his trap, he dropped down to the edge of the forest, ripped a piece of cloth off his pants leg. Nakai wrapped the cloth tightly around a thick branch. He lit a match with his thumb and forefinger, then touched the flame to the edge of the fabric. He let the cloth burn for a moment before sticking it into some thick brush. The day was already hot, and the summer had been even hotter. The brush was dry and instantly caught, almost roaring up too fast in his face. Sweat was pouring off his body. That last was too close for comfort. He had to be extremely careful. Now he was on a timeline, and he felt the pressure of each second. He jogged to the edge of the lava field, lighting every pile of brush he came to. It took him less than 10 minutes to completely circle the valley, lighting the edges as he went, leaving only the area below his trap open and fire free. Then, tossing his torch into the trees, he moved back to a position right below his pit and waited. The creature was still asleep in its camp, and the vultures were still fighting over the human heads. One of them had pecked off Sheriff Bogle's sunglasses, leaving one eye socket empty, a black hole big enough to hold a golf ball. Around the valley, the fires were raging, crackling, sending smoke and flames shooting into the air. Even if his plan didn't succeed and the creature escaped, Nakai had managed to let the colonel know what area he had been in. The plan worked in 2 ways. That was the beauty of it. Nakai looked at the flames. They couldn't burn across the lava rock. They needed fuel, and the only place they would find fuel was in the valley. The fires had to go inward, towards the monster and its camp of rotting death. Better wake up there, big fella, Nakai said, staring at the creature through the binoculars. You're going to get a hot foot real quick if you don't. With a squawk, the vultures flew off. They circled a few times, angry that they had lost their feast, and then the smoke drove them away. The colonel had to be seeing this. The fire was racing towards the creature, crackling and roaring. Heat rose and engulfed Nakai. He wiped sweat off his face. The air wavered around him a little as the heat pockets formed. Come on, Nakai whispered. No one can sleep through this. But it would have been wonderful if the monster could. Nakai would have burned it to death. Of course, the instant Nakai had that thought, things changed. Finally, the noise of the fire caused the creature to stir. It sat up and looked around as if it was stunned. Then it went up a tree quickly. Then, with a quick glance around, quickly figured out what had happened. Nakai kept an eye on it through the binoculars. I bet you're not a happy camper, he said. In the tree, the creature turned and looked directly at him, fixing him with those disturbing eyes. Nakai could feel the chill of evil run through his entire body, making him shiver despite the heat of the day and the roaring fires below. He took a deep breath and then did the only thing he could think to do. He waved. I'm up here, you ugly mother! Better come and get me before you become a fried piece of shit! Through the binoculars, Nakai could see the creature square up its shoulders so that it was facing directly at him. Shit, Nakai said, jumping to the right behind a large outcropping of lava rock, jarring his shoulder as he went. The blue flame exploded where he'd been standing, sending rock into the air like a black rain. Pissed off, huh? Nakai said through gritted teeth. Good, so am I. Carefully, he glanced over the rock. The creature was out of the tree and out of sight in the smoke and flames that now filled the small valley. Nakai scrambled for his next position, keeping the pit between himself and the valley. He stood up on a rock and looked down at the edge of the forest, ready to leap to a safe place at an instant's warning. Come on, you fat, ugly lizard, Nakai said, staring into the smoke and flames. Show yourself. His command was instantly answered as the creature vaulted out of the trees and started up the face of the lava, directly at Nakai. Now we're talking, Nakai said. He stood his ground for a moment to make sure the creature saw him clearly. Then, before it could get off a shot of blue death, he dropped out of sight behind some rocks. The creature came up the hill, just as Nakai had figured it would, leaping the last 20 feet to the top. The creature landed exactly where Nakai had hoped. Smack in the middle of the branches Nakai had fixed over the hole in the lava dome roof. With a huge crack, the monster disappeared out of sight, the look of surprise on its ugly face worth every ache and pain Nakai had at that moment. That'll teach you to look before you leap, he said, laughing to himself. With his pistol in his left hand, Nakai moved slowly towards the edge of the pit. Not a sound came from the hole, only the crackling fire filled the air. Moving carefully, he inched towards the hole until he was just about to look down, hoping to see the crumpled body of the creature on the rocks below. Instead, it came up out of the hole with a low growl, pulling itself over the edge directly in front of Nakai. Before he could move, it grabbed his leg, spilling him over backward onto the hard rock. The creature climbed the rest of the way out of the hole and now stood above him. Nakai could only stare into the face of death. The stench of rotting flesh covered him as the monster leaned forward, drooling. In all his life, Nakai had never been so scared, and so ready to die.